Good morning, Dallas Cowboy fans. How you guys doing? Good win yesterday against the Miami Dolphins. I just want to touch on that real quick. The game yesterday, second half was great for us. First half, it was definitely shaky. Miami started Josh Rosen for the first time this year in place of Ryan Fitzpatrick, and I think it was a late decision, like maybe I think they said Thursday that Rosen found out he was getting the start. So I don't know if we prepared for Fitzpatrick and then got Rosen and didn't know how to defend him, but Rosen was pretty effective in the first half, moving the ball pretty efficiently. They actually, I would argue that they hurt themselves more than we hurt them. They got down into the red zone and had a fumble by Kenyon Drake that looked like they were going to score. Missed a field goal. They were shooting themselves. So many drop balls. Devontae Parker, so many drop balls. I almost felt bad for Rosen at one point, just because, you know, he's young. He's kind of doesn't really have a ton of confidence, and his team didn't help him out a lot. Second half, we made some adjustments. Jason Garrett and staff made some adjustments, and we came out and we balled out in the second half. Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott both ran for over 100 yards, which was impressive. I like the fact that Zeke, we weren't overusing him. You know, when we can bring in somebody else like a Tony Pollard and take some pressure off of and some wear and tear off of Zeke, you know, that's always great. Our offensive line is dominant. I mean, there are so many times where Dak went back to throw and it looked like he had eternity to throw the football, you know. So, and when you can do that, chances are you're gonna have a great season if you can keep everybody healthy and you can continue to play that way. Now moving on, I'm just leaving the gym. I seen on First Take they're talking about, is Dak Prescott better than Carson Wentz? And I'm sure that this is a conversation that's going to be had for a long time, just because they are the face of their respective franchises. Max Kellerman, I just caught that tail end of his point, to where he said, you know, Dak Prescott is good because Kellen Moore's system, also the offensive line play. Carson Wentz is playing with a beat up and battered team right now. And, you know, I kind of second what he's saying there. And if you're just talking about pure overall talent, I think Carson Wentz is more talented. Look, the guy's a first-round pick. Dak Prescott was a fourth-round pick. Dak Prescott, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm shitting on my team, but Dak Prescott has been blessed with a very, very good offensive line. One of the top running backs in the league. He's got a ton of weapons around him, and Carson Wentz doesn't necessarily have that, right? Jordan Howard is his running back. He's not even, I mean, he had some good years in Chicago, but he's nowhere near the caliber of player that Zeke is. Alshon Jeffrey's injured. Deshaun Jackson's injured. Zach Ertz, off and on injured. Offensive line, off and on injured. So, you know, given those facts, I would say that Dak Prescott is benefiting from a healthy team and weapons around him, which no fault. I mean, you can't fault Dak. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing with who he's supposed to be doing it with. Carson Wentz, on the other hand, I watched him play last week. I can't remember who they played, but in a losing effort, he looked good. He looked good in the sense that he was trying to make things happen with nobodies. And when you do that, you know, people tend to notice. He looked the part, for sure. I know they took an L this past weekend to Detroit. It looked like they were going to come back, because I think they were down big at first, started to come back. Unfortunately for Eagles, it didn't happen. But yeah, Carson Wentz is doing all that he can to try to, I guess, minimize the impact of all the losses he has. I think Deshaun Jackson will be back next week. I don't know the status of Jeffrey and the other guys. You know, Nelson Aguilar, who, I mean, he's a decent number two, but he's been his go-to guy the last two games. So he needs some help. He needs some weapons around him if they're going to be productive this year. But to the argument, Dak Prescott is having a better year, obviously. But if you were to draft a quarterback and you had everything else is in place, Carson Wentz is your pick, no, without question, 100%. And that's not because I don't like Dak, but he's just more talented and has a bigger skill set than Dak Prescott does. And that's just my opinion. You guys may feel differently, and if you do feel differently, let me know. If you think Dak Prescott is a better quarterback than Carson Wentz, and I'm not talking about statistics. I don't care that Dak Prescott throws 170% and completes 170% of his pass. I don't care about any of that. I'm talking about who looks the part in the pocket. Who do you think, with the weapons, with all the weapons around him, is going to have a more productive year? And in my opinion, that's going to be Carson Wentz. If you have the number one running back in Ezekiel Elliott, you have a very good number one receiver in Amari Cooper, you have a complete offensive line like the Dallas Cowboys, I think Carson Wentz does better. That's just my opinion, though. Let me know what you guys think. I'm headed off to work. Enjoy your guys' week. Take it easy.